Guys, we've just had some breaking news that Bournemouth are close to reaching an agreement for Ben Doak for around £25 million. That FC Porto were also interested, but it looks like the Premier League club are very, very close to getting this done. So my question for you is, do you think it's a mistake to be selling him? Because he is one of the brightest talents. He's already a Scottish international, and he was on loan at Middlesbrough last season. When he was fit, did fantastically well. From what I heard, he was one of the brightest talents in the championship. We know how competitive and how difficult the championship is, but we have now sold him on a permanent. And don't forget, he's a player that he's another one of them players that we bought when he was on the brink of becoming a professional, and he had just made his debut, I think. It was back in 2022 when we signed him from Celtic for £600,000, and now we're going to be selling him for £25 million. So fair play to the club again, because we've made major profit. It shows yet again how well this football club is run. And many people this summer are saying, how is Liverpool able to get away with all this spending? How are they able to get away with the PSR and everything? It's because of deals like this. Deals like this are what's best from a PSR point of view, because it's almost £25 million pure profit, or I guess, £600,000. Let's say £24.4 million profit. That's huge. Don't forget, for example, Arsenal's biggest ever sale, I think, is still from back in the day when they sold Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to us, and that was £35 million. So, this football club is just incredible at buying and selling, especially young talents in recent years, where we've just been unbelievable at doing that, and this is another example of that. But I can understand, I've seen a lot of people saying it's probably a mistake to be selling him because, whenever you watch him, he is such an exciting talent. He's rapid. Already, I would say, an elite dribbler. He just doesn't quite have it in the final third just yet, but he's obviously still young. He has really the world at his feet, but the reality is, do I think it's a mistake to be selling him? No. And I say that because I don't think he's going to get proper playing time at Liverpool. And, that's what he deserves. That's what he wouldn't be getting at Liverpool. And the only way he does end up becoming a top player is if he gets to play week in, week out at the highest level to develop and prove himself there, And the reality is, I think probably as part of this deal, we'll have some kind of sell-on clause. Probably not a buyback clause, but I think some kind of sell-on clause where if, let's say, in 5 years' time, he's worth a whole lot more. Paul Joyce, by the way, just said he's been withdrawn from the Liverpool squad for the game tonight against Bournemouth because he's so close to completing that move, right? But anyways, like I was saying, I think this is just needed for him and the best of his career, And again, when you look at that fee and the amount of games he's played at the highest level, it's a very, very good fee to be getting. Very good fee, especially, again, considering what we brought him in for. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he went on to become a top player. But like I said, I also think in this deal we probably included some kind of sell-on clause where if in 4 or 5 years' time he's sold for much bigger money, we'd still make a decent chunk on that. Just like I was reading yesterday, Carlos Baleba, that Man United really want. Lille, when they sold him, they have a 20% sell-on clause. So let's say Brain end up selling Baleba for over £100 million, which I think is his worth. He's on par probably with Caicedo. He's a bit younger, I think. Lille will be making, 20 to 25 million potentially from that Baleba deal if United sign him or another big club signs him or a club that can pay big money next summer. But it's just to say sometimes sell-on clauses are really crucial, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were able to include a sell-on clause, because I think we probably would have wanted to keep him and loan him out again. But this price was too good to turn down, I think. And not just that, but I think also we still want to sign 2 forwards this summer. And I think this is extra money to go into the Alexander Isak fund that we're going to launch a second bid. So it's just even more of a reason for us to be able to spend a British transfer record fee because we've just sold so well this summer. Don't forget all of the players we've sold so far. We've raised over £200 million already this summer, and Ben Doak is adding £25 million to it. Kostas looks like will leave. That could be another £15 million. Harvey is likely going to leave. That's going to be £40 to £50 million. It's just crazy the funds we're able to raise this summer, and that's very, very underrated because, again, when you look at a club like Arsenal, they struggle to sell. And from a PSR point of view, that's significant. If we had been talking about buying and selling players maybe 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been so important. But clearly, Now there is financial regulation in the Premier League, and PSR is strict because otherwise Newcastle with their ownership would have come in and just spent hundreds of millions because it's the richest ownership. But it just shows that finally there's some regulation, finally there's some rules, and that's PSR, and Liverpool, like I said, is in very good withstanding on that. And the more we sell, obviously, the better. And the reality is, I don't think he would have gone many minutes had he stayed. And for him, I can understand why at this stage, because he proved it last season how good he could be on loan, why he would want to go to a Premier League club. And I think if Bournemouth is paying that much money, they back him to start often, and that's what he deserves. To start in the Premier League is the best thing for his development, So I'm buzzing for Ben Doak. He deserves this, and in the end, I think it's just a good move for all parties. But let me know in the building what you think. Do you think this is a good deal, bad deal? Do you think we're making a mistake? Do you think he'll go on to become £100 million player? Only time will tell. But what's for sure is I think if he can become lethal in the final third, goals and assists, then he can be incredible because he has the pace, he has the dribbling, he has the directness. He's almost you almost can't defend him. Like we saw when he was playing for Scotland against Croatia, he absolutely turned Josko Guardiola. So, yeah, guys, let me know what you think. And also, happy match day! Tonight we're going to do watch along for the Bournemouth game. I cannot wait, and I hope to see you guys there. So, anyways, thank you as always for the support on this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao, guys!